What NASA is saying is that the biggest power booster on our planet is green light. Light from above that touches chlorophyll and the hemoglobin. Chlorophyll in plants, hemoglobin in human beings. These people are saying that by taking this stuff, they're getting a message. NASA is saying that what is in the stuff that they're taking is an encrypted message coming from Greenlight. We learned from this material that chlorophyll converts light energy into something called ATP. It's a large scientific name. We won't get into that. But ATP is in both plants and human beings. Actually, it is the hemoglobin in humans, which is complementary to chlorophyll in plants. ATP is the source of energy for living cells in plants and in humans and in animals. And ATP is a direct result of light from above interacting with either chlorophyll or hemoglobin, interacting with green. So it's green light which is actually responsible for ATP. And ATP is the immediate source of energy for muscle contraction. In other words, you couldn't move unless there's ATP, and there's no ATP unless there's green light, light interacting with the green of the earth. So the heme group in humans is related to the chlorophyll in plants, and through light touching both, there is the source of energy for all life. This provides the plant food in the form of carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, the building blocks of life. And now for today, what I want you to do is keep in mind this article, and that nucleic acid is DNA. Green light, DNA. We said there's a connection. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Very, very important. Keep in mind that, because it's going to be important, very important later as we get into this. Without the photosystem, now the photosystem is NASA's term for the green light. Without the photosystem, molecules, life as we know it, would cease to exist. So how important is green light? Without it, there's none of anybody. Just as in human cells, the photosystem proteins, that's the green light, inside a plant cell are translated from amino acids. These amino acids are in turn translated from the complex array of nucleic acids in DNA. The description of the molecular code reads like an encrypted message. Now, what's interesting about that is the nucleic acid is the product of green light. The green light is an angle of light, it's a photon, which the Bible says is an angel of light. The angle of light as a photon is a messenger particle. The angel in the Bible is a messenger. And so here now we find that there's a direct connection between the angle of light, or the messenger, and an encrypted message called DNA. There's a direct connection. NASA has given us a direct connection. In other words, there could be no DNA unless there's light interacting with heme and chlorophyll. There can be no DNA unless there's an angle of light, and the angle of light is the messenger, and we find out that the DNA is an encrypted message. And that's what it says in your article from NASA in the very last line. A description of the molecular code reads like an encrypted message. So you see how everything is conveyed in symbols. Even you, it's an encrypted, you're an encrypted, there's a coded message inside of you. Not a plain, there's nothing written on your head or anything. It's all written in cosmic code, really. And so not only inside of you is there an encrypted message that we call DNA. Jesus never spoke but in a symbol, that's what the Bible says. The Bible is allegorical, that's what the Bible says. The myths and the ancient stories. And NASA tells us there's an intelligent message conveyed to all living things in a molecular code which reads like an encrypted message. Isn't it encrypted? You know what an encrypted message is? It's code. It's like Morse code, you know. Job 8:16. He is green before the sun, and his branch shoots forth in his garden. Job 15:31. Let not him that is deceived trust in vanity, for vanity shall be his recompense. It shall be accomplished before his time, and his branch shall not be green. Psalm 23, the one that everybody knows. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. It's not talking about cow pastures. It's not talking about what you think is a pasture. It's talking about something much more significant. Song of Solomon 1:16, behold, you are fair, my beloved, yes, pleasant. Also, our bed is green. Revelation 9:4, and it was commanded them, that's talking about the angels, that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads, which is the pineal gland. There's a book called The Power of Color, and it's written by Dr. Morton Walker. And he speaks of green from a metaphysical perspective. And he says about it, emerald green is often the symbol of hope and growth and is used this way in many Christian paintings. To Muslims, green is a sacred color symbolizing immortality. The Buddha is often painted against a green background to denote the permanent life behind all of man's temporary incarnations. And emerald green returns us to the Bible because it says in Revelation 4:2, I was in the Spirit, there was a throne, and one was sitting on the throne, and he that sat upon the throne like a jasper, and there was a rainbow about the throne like unto an emerald. Greenlight. The scientist at NASA, who has a flying prototype of a ship that flies by laser, is not coming from New Age stuff, it comes from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and Space Science News. This ship flies on laser power. Now, looking down above you right now from space is supernova 1987A, which you have seen. The center eye of supernova 1987A is green. And it's on fire now. If you look in the color spectrum, the center of the color spectrum is the color green. Now, I showed you a few weeks ago a scientific diagram showing the human eye, and the human eye senses color in three spectrums, and the top one is red, the bottom one is blue, and the center that your eye picks up is green. Kabbalists, those who studied the ancient Kabbalah, stated the pathway to God was the center, and they considered green that pathway because it is the center of the light spectrum. So, I mean, how can all these coincidences exist? They're not coincidences, but you know, it's like everything else on the earth, very few people pay attention to it. So now let's try to fit the puzzle together. You got all this talking about green, 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 green. How in the world does it all work? And does it work? I say meditation. Al says, well, you know, like we said, you observe yourself, you watch yourself. I tell you, well, when you watch yourself, the observation causes the light wave which is inside the brain to collapse to a particle, which then puts you into a harmony with the universe and you can receive. How is that possible? I mean, that's ridiculous. How could it possibly be? How could you send healing or whatever to somebody else? How could you receive anything from, you know, sitting there listening to some gongs or something, bong, 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 when you're going to harmonize with the universe? How is this possible? I mean, what happens inside of your head? Where would the message come from? Nobody's talking to you. How would you know? Just as in human cells, the photosystem, that's the green light, proteins, light, green. Let's put that together. Green, light, okay? Inside a plant cell are translated from amino acids. Amino acids have a 20-letter alphabet for each of the 20 naturally occurring amino acids. These acids are in turn translated from a complex array of nucleic acids and DNA codes as the letters A, G, T, C. A description of the molecular code reads like an encrypted message. So the message is connected to the green light. Now, the only, you know, that's not a new age idea. That's coming from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. I think they're competent scientific people. So somehow light entering the Earth on an angle, a messenger particle, a photon, angles of light, messenger particles, somehow NASA finds that as this light touches chlorophyll and humans, it sets up a complex activity from amino acids into DNA, and the encrypted intelligent message is given to all living things. An intelligent message. I mean, the cat gets an intelligent message depending on what the cat needs. The elephant gets an encrypted message depending on what the elephant needs. You and I get an encrypted message depending on what we need. So the message comes from angles of light, from green light. These people are saying that by taking this stuff, they're getting a message. NASA is saying that what is in the stuff that they're taking is an encrypted message coming from green light. The people of the forest say they're getting the information from the plants themselves. And that's what NASA is confirming, that light entering into chlorophyll of all plants, and the hema of humans does exactly this. Angles of light, messenger particles. This really, of all the years you've been alive, of all the years you've gone to church, of all the years you've listened to people preach, you're finally coming face to face with the nature of God. How does God communicate with you? How does meditation, how does prayer, how is this communication? How can something from the outside come inside of you and communicate and do something for you? How could there be this messenger? Well, now it seems as though these people are stumbling on the fact that the DNA from the outside, which is an encrypted message, comes and communicates with the DNA on the inside, and something changes. Light entering into you via the pineal gland and touching the hema or green and providing to you an encrypted message that your DNA is capable of decoding. Let me repeat that. On the basis of Dr. Narby, on the basis of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, I am suggesting to you that in the same way that NASA has suggested to us that the light touching the chlorophyll causes this power, which amino acids and so forth to DNA, and that what Dr. Narby is talking about is the plants and so forth, and the stimulation of DNA, I want you to consider light entering into you via the pineal gland in meditation, touching the hema or green inside of you, and providing to you an encrypted message that your DNA is capable of decoding. And remember, supernova 1987A, the center is green, laser powered by flying crafts, green light, the power of herbs, the center of the spectrum, the center of the eye.